is going to start within a minute. Show is going to start within a minute. Let me just make everything good. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing. Okay, that is fine. Now let me check my sound levels. If there is anybody in the chat room, tell me, can you listen? Can you hear me loud and clear? Is there anybody there? Hi, bruv. Fred Abiola Olani is here. Where are you from, Fred? Lovely name. Oh, excellent. We've got YouTube people. Everybody, welcome. So let's get started. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the CoronaCast comedy show, episode number 14. I can't believe we're at number 14. It's absolutely amazing that it's still going. Thank you so much for tuning in. For those of you tuning in for the first time, this is a stand-up comedy show. I am Daliso Chaponda. I am a stand-up comic who every night before Corona would be performing on stages across the UK, across Africa, across Europe. Because of Corona, I no longer have live audiences, so every day I'm doing this. It's half talk show, half stand-up comedy show. And little note, yesterday in the middle of the broadcast, the broadband went down. I think my broadband in my building is struggling with all the people on Zoom, talking to their family, talking on house party. If that happens again, you should know that I am filming everything that happens. So if it goes out, the end of the show, just wait around an hour after the end of the show. You can go to my YouTube channel or here on Facebook, and I will post the full version if there are any technical difficulties. But hopefully there won't be. The theme of this 14th episode, people in the chat room, is the end of the world, right? So just to tell you how the show is going to go. The first half of the show, I'm going to talk about the end of the world, right? If you look to the right or to the left, I'm not ever sure where it positions the notes. I will be talking about the end of the world and a number of events which were thought to would have ended the world. So there's Halley's Comet, Chen Han, Y2K, Harold Camping, the Antichrist, and science. I will talk about these subjects. That's going to be the first half. Then there's going to be a little interval. In this interval, I will talk to the people who are in the chat room. So if when I'm doing my jokes, I'm ignoring you, do not worry. There will be a time when I look at your comments. If you have any questions, put big question marks, a few question marks so that I can clearly see them. Please also, while I'm performing, respond. I'm performing without a crowd. If you find something funny, put LOLs, put a comment. Trust me, after the show, I go through and I read them all and I respond to any, because it's very bizarre if you're performing to nobody. Second half of the show, in the course of the day, on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, I put a call out. Give me a subject, I will make it funny. These are the ones that I've chosen. So the second half, I'm going to do jokes about spiders, phones at gigs, chocolate cream, eggs, Yari Museveni, video consultations, Frogspawn, science, why does my piss have blood in it, the Holocaust, have you got balls enough to write a joke about that, Bondage, Boris Johnson, and sidekicks, okay? Side chicks, not sidekicks. It's an entirely different story. In fact, maybe your side chick could be your sidekick. Bruce Wayne's definitely was. You know, him and Robin are getting at it. Okay, anyway, let's get started. Before I get started, let's a brief hello to the people in the chat room. Hello, my repeat people. Thank you for coming back. Hello to Ozias. I should have put the screen clear because you are seeing how bad my eyes are because I have to keep leaning forward. But very good to have you here. Paul McGill, you saw me in Drosbin. Good to have you here. Glad you're seeing me in my flat, in my living room. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's get started. Today, we're going to be talking about the end of the world. Now, why did I decide to do a show about the end of the world? Because I'm sure you've heard it too. A lot of people are either talking about how this is the beginning of the end of the world, right? Other people are talking about, not necessarily as doom and gloom at the end of the world, but other people are saying our life will never be the same. Things are going to change. It's going to be like pre-corona and post-corona, right? So I started thinking about the idea of the end of the world. And in the first section, I'm going to talk about a number of times in history when we have thought the end of the world is here. I'm going to tell a few jokes about it. And then you can also let me know if I miss any of the times that we thought that the world was going to end in the comments. Put a few questions around it so that I can see it, and just mention another time when we thought the world must end or people thought the world might end. Okay, so the first one I'll talk about is Halley's Comet. So in 1910, there was a comet which was going to be passing very close to the Earth. And a lot of people became terrified that Halley's Comet was going to bring the end of the world, right? And part of me looks back at this and I'm like, then why did you call it Halley's Comet, right? If this comet was possibly going to wipe out the world, don't name it Halley's Comet. If it's that dangerous, call it Godzilla. You know what I mean? If Godzilla was coming to hit the Earth, people would take it seriously. Actually, in fact, this probably applies to Corona as well, huh? Calling it COVID, huh? Calling it Corona. None of these are terrifying enough, which is why some people are not listening to the instructions from government. If it was called Godzilla or Badass or something like that, I guarantee you everybody would listen. Imagine in the UK, Prime Minister Boris Johnson came up and said, we need to take more extreme steps to defend against Godzilla. Everyone's like, I'm staying in. I'm not going out. Godzilla is wiping us out. So first thing I had an issue with is the name Halley's Comet. But then also at the time, as people were frenzied, people started selling comet pills. They would sell pills. And I'm like, wait, a comet is coming to wipe you out? Paracetamols are not going to help. Why are you taking pills? And the reason they were taking pills, actually, I found out, was it's because actually most of the fear was not that the comet was going to hit the Earth. No. There was a scientist called Camille Flammarion, which is a fabulous name, and he actually had the theory that it wasn't going to be the comet, but it was going to be the tail of the comet, which had all these very dangerous gases like cyogen, right, would go past the Earth, and the Earth's atmosphere would be filled with cyogen gas, and that was what's going to kill us, not the direct impact. So people were selling fake pills, like every local witch doctor wannabe, everybody with a mortar and pestle was knocking out little pills and selling them as, if you take these, the gas won't kill you. You know, people always find a way to use disasters to make money. So that was that. And then I had one third thing. I don't know what the third thing was, but essentially life did not end, right? Halley's Comet did not wipe the world out. All the people who thought the world was going to end were like, the world didn't end, had a party, which I think is always a good way to celebrate when life continues. Okay, the second case which I'm going to bring up is Chen Han. Now, if you don't know Chen Han, he was a Taiwanese prophet, right? He started a religion. This was in the 90s. He started a religion, and it was a very, like, he had followers, and it was very, like, I don't know if you'd call it a cult. I guess you'd call it a cult. But essentially, he kind of mixed together some Buddhist thought, some Christian thought, threw in a few, like, portents of doom. And he had his own religion. But the reason why I find really amazing is that he gave specifics. Now, if any of you have ever gone to get your palm read or had your tarot read, the way that a clever fortune teller goes is they're very vague, right? They'll say, you're going to meet a tall, dark man, right? You'll probably meet a tall, dark man, or something like, oh, beware of the sign of the shadow. And you can interpret it in lots of ways, so you can never know when they're wrong. But wow, I got to tell you, Chen Han had some big cojones, because his prediction was that on channel 18, right? Not on television, on specifically channel 18, on March the 31st, God was going to appear, right? Now, first of all, I was like, why would God choose channel 18, right? Why not CNN, right? Why not, like, the BBC, something where everyone's watching? Why channel 18 in Taiwan, right? Why not Babe Station, right? If you want to get lots of people watching, God should appear on Babe Station, right? But Not only this, he was so specific. He said the day, he said the time, and then it didn't happen. Now, when he made the prediction, he must have been pretty confident, right? But it didn't happen, and so he had to hold a press conference, and I actually respect the man. Yeah, he started a cult, but when he was wrong, he was like, yeah, you got me, and he said that all of my predictions are tantamount to nonsense, right? That is actually someone who I can respect, because when they were wrong, they said, yeah, I'm wrong. A lot of people, they're going to go down swinging. So that was Ho Chen Minh. That was another time when life did not end. And again, we had a party. Next case is one which a lot of you may be familiar with. Those of you who are my age, millennials, you probably aren't aware of this, or you are aware of it, but you were little toddlers, so it didn't affect you. Y2K. Now, the Y2K bug was when the year 1999 was turning into the year 2000, and there was a big fear that it was going to cause computer chips all around the world to just break down, because computers had been programmed with a way that the numbers went up. Oh no, the numbers went up every day. The numbers went up every day. And when it went to 0000, people thought it might confuse the computer. And it might, look, I'm not necessarily explaining the science of it well. I didn't research that part of it. But we all thought the computers at midnight, as 1999 becomes the year 2000, are all gonna break down, and this could cause the end of the world, because there's so many things which depend. Your planes will be crashing, hospitals will have all of their databases collapse, and there'll be we are so dependent on technology that the idea was this was gonna bring the end times, right? Now, the actual thing that happened is, I think some people were excited. Like I was in debt. Right, and I think anyone else who owed a lot of money to credit cards was like, Y2K, please wipe out my debt. Let me start from zero, please. There's always some people who are doing well in such situations. Alas, alack for me and the big amount of money which I owed Barclays. Oh no! It didn't happen, because what happened is, in preparation, all over the world, banks and governments spent $300 billion upgrading their computers, right? And then when it came, nothing happened. Now, who's to say something would have happened if they hadn't done all the preparation, but the preparations worked, or nothing was going to happen, the world didn't end, we had a party! Excellent. Let's go on to the next one, right? Harold Camping. Oops, I threw away the note card before I had used the second half of it. As I am running out of note cards, I am now writing my jokes in tiny, tiny letters, and I'm doing 2 jokes per card because I'm running out, and until Amazon sends me my refill, I need these. Okay, so Y2K, yes, didn't end, we had a party. Next person I bring out is Harold Camping, and he's similar to Ho Chen Minh because he was, again, someone who had a cult. I may have said this before. I'm fascinated with cult leaders. People who have the charisma and the persuasive power to start cults. I don't think that I could persuade someone to take out the dishes. Take out the trash or do the dishes. How do you persuade people to follow your cult? But again, he had a cult, right? And he, again, like Ho Chen Minh, was so confident, he gave a very specific prediction. He said that the world was going to end in May 2011. Now, he said 3% of the world would be taken up by God, right? It was a rapture. And then the rest of the people were going to burn in hell. Essentially, that was the idea, right? Now, May 2011 happened. June arrived. The world didn't end. 3% of the world didn't disappear. Now, unlike Ho Chen Minh, I've got to say, Harold Camping was not as graceful. He didn't just say, hey, you got me. I just kind of made it up. No. He said, no. It was an invisible judgment day. How no, you didn't see the judgment day. It happened, but it was just like wearing like a stealth cloak. So you couldn't get through its stealth technology. It happened. 3% of the population disappeared, but they still seem to be here because God is tricky like that. Dude, just admit you're wrong. More respect for Ho Chen Min. So let us move on to the next prediction, which isn't just a prediction. It's a bunch of predictions which all are in the same family, which is religions all seem to predict the end of the world, right? Many different religions have a judgment day or an apocalypse or an end of days, right? And every religion has it. So like, for example, in Islam, it's called the hour. And it's an hour when Jesus is going to return to Damascus to slay the Antichrist. Judaism has the war of Gog and Magog, where again, the Christ comes to fight the Antichrist, right? Now, they don't think the Christ is Jesus, but whoever the actual Christ is will come and fight the Antichrist. Hinduism, Vishnu comes back as a figure called Kuki and rides a white horse, right? Ragnarok, the Vikings believed, where like floods were going to wipe out the world and 2 people would be left. Like all of these, loads of religions have it. And Christianity, of course, Christianity spends a whole final chapter of the Bible on the end of days, right? The end of days is an entire chapter, and it's the final battle against the devil, right? Now, I'll tell you what the interesting thing about it is that nowadays, people don't even analyze their faith as much as they used to back in the day, right? Maybe it's because people either believe or don't believe, but I think people used to struggle and grapple with their faith much more hundreds of years ago. Because, for example, the last chapter of the Bible, I've forgotten the name. You know the name. Someone in the comments, tell me, what's the end of the world chapter of the Bible called? Revelations? Not Revelations. Is it Revelations? Yes, Revelation. So Revelation, there was a whole discussion about whether Revelation would ever actually make it into the Bible. Because everybody thinks the Bible was just all the books happened to get there together. No, there were loads and loads of debates, because there are lots of books which are written about biblical times, a lot of accounts written by different people who saw Jesus Christ speak, right? So like, if he went and he gave a speech to hundreds of people and 4 of them could write, 4 of them all tried to write what happened, and they wrote their all slightly different versions. Now, some of you don't believe it happened at all, but even if you just think he was a historical figure, not necessarily a divine figure, still, people had very different ways of writing down what he wrote. And so there was a whole big conflict between Revelation, which was written by John, which was John's account of the stuff which Jesus said about how, he was going to come back and he was going to fight the devil, right? And then there was another one. The other one was the Peter's apocalypse. And it was much more friendly, right? Because in Peter's apocalypse, it talks about Jesus coming back and saving all of us, right? So Jesus isn't coming and judging everyone. Jesus is coming and saying, yo, man, chill out. Let's have a party, and saving all of us. And I always thought personally, this seemed more like Jesus to me, okay? Whether or not you believe Jesus existed, if you read the Bible, he was like a pretty cool dude. He was walking around like healing people, right? Washing people's legs and oh, you're crippled, bam, you can walk. Oh, you've got leprosy, bam, you're cured. Oh, people are throwing stones at you, stop throwing stones at her. He without then throw the first stone. He was like a cool dude. I could never ever think, why is this cool dude coming back and judging all of us, killing the Antichrist with like a big flaming sword or something? God, I don't know. The Jesus who I read about would probably just have a chat with the Antichrist and persuade him he's wrong, right? So the interesting thing is Peter's apocalypse was more that kind of loving version of Jesus just kind of coming around and stopping the apocalypse and saving all of us. But because a lot of the people at the Council of Nicaea, I may be saying it wrong, right? A lot of them were much more of the fire and brimstone and punishment version. After lots of debate, revelation got into the Bible, which I just think is fascinating, right? Now, I've read a lot of these biblical accounts of the Revelation, different religions, accounts of Ragnarok and all these things. And I actually find it very reassuring, because to all the people who say that, oh, the end of days is here with Corona, I'm like, look outside, right? I don't see any dragons, right? When the dragons come a knocking, that's when we should start worrying. Look outside. Do you see 4 horsemen just rolling down the street, breathing fire and stuff like that? Huh? When that starts happening, end of the world is here. Until then, it's just coronavirus, man. It's terrible, but it's not the end of days, right? I was reassured by these thoughts, but then I started reading all of these religious blocks, and a lot of them, oh no, they're like, it's just the first wave. The dragons and the horses are coming, right? They found text and they're like, look, it's building up, right? I guess it's like, when you start a car, you have to, an old car, you have to sort of rev it up and get it started. It's like, so apparently, what's going on right now with the coronavirus, that's the apocalypse going. It started with Australian wildfires, okay? Then coronavirus, the earthquakes, and it's gradually building up, and maybe next year dragons are showing up. But it'll be fine if Khaleesi's riding one of them. No, Khaleesi's crazy. No, it won't be good. Anyway, so all of this was very stressful for me. So I said, okay, maybe I should stop reading religious books. Maybe science is where I will be cheered up. So I went from looking at Revelation and accounts of Ragnarok to seeing what scientists say. Maybe they can cheer me up with their positivity and their logic. Hell no! If anything, the scientists have full of much more doom and gloom, because they list a whole bunch of ways where this is how the world is probably going to end. So nuclear war. And in fact, one of the scientists was saying, well, if coronavirus causes shortages, it's going to accelerate nuclear war because countries will start fighting against each other. Dudes, you're meant to cheer me up with your science. Or biological and chemical warfare. Some people were theorizing maybe coronavirus was created in the lab, and then now someone's going to create something even worse. Oh no! Or it's going to be climate change. Climate change is going to come get us. I'm sure you all know about this. Or it could be an ecological collapse, or pandemics like this, even if it just came naturally, or it could be asteroid impact, or super volcanoes. As if volcanoes aren't enough, super volcanoes will be pouring out lava on all of our streets. Or it could be artificial intelligence. And I was like, wait a second, I'm busy worrying about super volcanoes and worrying about ecological collapse, and now you're telling me that Siri is going to turn on me? Like, I'm alone in this flat. Siri's my only friend. Siri should not turn against me. Please, Siri, don't become Skynet. So those are all the things that the scientists were saying, and I was like, you know what? Sorry, hold on. I will say this, is I actually think that if the end of the world comes, we can't stop it, right? It's bigger than all of us. It's just going to show up. It's just going to happen. We can't control it necessarily. And it probably will come in a way which all of us can't even imagine. Right? We'll probably be worrying about the sun extinguishing or ecological collapse, and it turns out actually something we can't even imagine yet, like maybe our dreams wake up, and I'm just saying something which is beyond us, something from, quantum technology or something might be what brings it. So just laugh. So what I'm going to do in the face of the impending end of the world is go to the second section where I do jokes from your suggestions. But before that, let's have a little interval. Now, this is a little interval. If any of you need to go to the bathroom, now is the time to do it. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to take a little drink. My drink today, I'm going to have a shot. I'm not having an alcoholic shot. No. I'm going to have a shot. This is turmeric and lemon shot to help me fight corona. Oh, yeah. Let's take a look at the comments. Okay, let's see. We've got Wayne Romerell says dinosaurs will come back. That's entirely possible. What else do we have? Okay, do we have any questions? Rich Rijal says we should start a cult. Yes, I'm all in. Let's start this. We could start the cult of CoronaCast comedy, right? What you got to do is you bring a few people in. I'll start making some random rules because you always need rules to get a religion started, right? So first we need stuff which you're not allowed to do, okay? We need dieting things like Muslims, it's bacon, and Hindus, it's cows. So let's say this, no carbs. Okay, we're going to start a religion which is no carbs. Okay, what else? What else will we have? We need rules. We need arbitrary rules. We need a church. This is the church. The church of our cult. I like how you're thinking, Amrit. Let's keep going. Colliver says, I'm very good. Wakanda forever. I agree. Excellent. Super. Let us move on. For the second half, I'm just looking at the comments. Michelle Pilbin says, haha, I was part of a backup team for a bank in case Y2K came. Computer companies, clever people, lots of money made for them. Okay, right. Very true. It is good to laugh, Wayne. Excellent. Not a lot of questions today. I think that means you were listening to what I was saying, which is good. Hello from Bexhill, says Michelle. Hello to you. That's all the comments I see. Ross Agostino says, when did laughter start? ? Perhaps I'm not entertaining you and you are not laughing. That is fine. There are loads of great comedians. In fact, I'll take this moment to suggest a few comedians to you. If you want a good laugh, from people who aren't famous, try Scott Bennett. He's doing a weekly show. He's very funny. Try Rob Mulholland. He did a very funny thing because he had coronavirus for a while and he did a review of it, which is hilarious. Those are two people who come to my mind, but there are loads of us, loads of comedians. Of course, they're the famous people. Watch the Daily Show, watch the Last Week Tonight. Brilliant people here to amuse you through the coronavirus, such as me. If I'm not making you laugh, someone else would. Okay. Oh, no. Ross meant the history of laughter. Oh, maybe that will be a topic for tomorrow. That probably needs some research. But let us get to the second section of the show. In the second section of the show, I'm going to do jokes based on suggestions I've got. But as always, I'm going to start with an old joke. Why do I start with an old joke? Because it gets me in the comedy rhythm. What people don't realize is there's the biggest thing about comedy, it's timing. It's like a rhythm. It's like ba ba ba. And if you're a drummer and you haven't played the drum for a long time, you need to warm up just to get yourself into the rhythm. So I'm going to tell one of my old jokes. Apologies if you've heard it before, but it will get me into the rhythm, and a few of you who've not heard it will be able to laugh at one of my tried and tested jokes, and then we will move to the suggestions, okay? So I'm going to tell a joke, which is based on the fact that when I'm in the UK, people often ask me if I experience racism. Now, I don't let racism worry me, because racists are lazy. Yes, they're lazy. Why do I say they are lazy? Think of even the racial slurs. They all just describe what they see. Someone's darker than me. I want to insult him. What do I say? Darky. They just use what they see. Even the N-word, the worst one, comes from nègre, which means black, which means somebody racist saw someone black and said, black. They just describe what they see. And I know this for certain because I was there at the birth of a new racial slur. I was walking down the streets of Newcastle. I was walking with a white woman. I do that sometimes. A drunk racist saw us walking down the street together, wanted to yell some abuse, but the poor guy, there is no insult for a black person and a white person walking together. No, the best he could do was make one up. So he just kind of looked and he was like something black, something white, and the best he could do was penguin. Penguin! I was confused. How could I be offended at penguin? I love happy feet. In fact, there are other things that he could have yelled out that could have been more offensive. Things that are black and white. He could have pointed and said, old television, newspaper, barcode, that song by Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson. So there you go. That's my tried and tested joke to get me in the mood. Let's keep moving. You may have realized it because I'm performing not on a stage. I have to not move around because when I move, it makes that sound. So I'm trying to keep my feet in one place or it may be distracting. Okay, so we're going to start with a suggestion from @DorothyVay, who wanted a joke about spiders, right? And I started thinking about spiders. Why are we terrified of spiders? So many people are afraid of spiders, like they're little creatures. Why are people terrified of it? And I started looking into the history of it, and a lot of it actually is kind of relevant to the corona fear, because back during the Black Plague, right, when the Black Plague, the bubonic plague, was killing loads of people, one of the big theories was it came from spiders. Now, it actually turned out that it was rats who were spreading it, but a lot of people at the time thought it came from spiders. And there was another disease they thought that spiders passed, which was called tarantism. Now, tarantism is a disease which apparently causes the sufferer to dance uncontrollably. Where the hell is this disease? This is a disease which should make a comeback. In fact, wouldn't it be great if corona, instead of making people cough, gave them tarantism? Yes, it's still killing people, but wouldn't it be amazing if you're walking outside and you just see, a couple of old guys doing the swing? Yeah. You see some young guys, they're just popping and locking, right? You see some kids doing that dance I can't do. What's that dance called? The kids and their swinging hands, right? You walk down another corner and you see that old guy who's hip and he's doing like some moves. Wouldn't it be great to have the dancing disease? I would love a tarantism epidemic. And then I also looked into spiders in myth. And there's one story which is amazing. Now, it's a Greek myth. Some of you may have heard this. It's of Ariadne. Now, Ariadne was a person who made tapestries, right? So she made tapestries, and she was an absolutely amazing artist. And she was bragging to people because everyone was saying, you're so amazing, you're so good. And she said, yes, I'm such a good artist. I'm better than the goddess Athena. Right now, the goddess Athena heard this, was not pleased, and showed up and said, fine, let's have a competition. I make a tapestry, you make a tapestry, we'll see who's actually better, right? And so they started, right? They went at it, had their little competition, they both made tapestries, and then when everybody looked, everybody had to admit that Ariadne's was better than Athena's. Athena was so pissed off, she smote Ariadne, turned her into a spider, and said, you're so good at making tapestries, you're going to make tapestries for the rest of your life. And so, webs. The webs are the tapestries of Ariadne. Right? Now, it's an amazing story, but I've got to tell you, when I look back at it, Ariadne was an absolute idiot. Idiot majore. If a god shows up and says they want to have a competition with you, you lose. You just lose. You don't, even if you could win, you lose. I guarantee you, if a god showed up, kabam, right here, and said, you, Daliso, you think you're funny, I'm funnier than you. Let's have a stand-up comedy competition. I don't care how horrible the god's jokes would be. I'd come out with knock-knock jokes. I'd be like, how does a chicken cross the road? Do not win against a god. She was an idiot. At Dorothy Vay, I hope you liked your joke. Then, at Benjamin Simon, asked for a joke about phones at gigs. Whether I'm for it or whether I'm against it. Now, I'm against it. I hate it when people have phones at gigs. When I'm doing my comedy and people start filming what I'm doing, it's always so hard because I'm like, if I release a comedy special, people will already know the jokes. Now, ironically, I'm giving you all of my jokes, right? So when I do a special, you'll have heard the jokes. But even so, it's much better live. I don't understand why people will go watch an amazing concert and watch it through this tiny screen like this. Be in the moment. Enjoy the moment, right? Also, I think the whole thing is the reasons why people film something as opposed to be in it are always a bit odd, right? Like the first one is a lot of people say, well, I'm here. My daughter can't be here or my boyfriend can't be here. I'm filming it so that I can show it to them. And I'm like, yes, you could show them this little rendition on a screen, but is that the best thing? Or would it be better to call them and say, instead of saying, hey, check this video out, say, it was amazing. When Lauryn Hill walked onto the screen, I felt chills and I remembered being 16. And then we all started dancing. And then when she went into Lost Ones, we all started jumping up and down. And then there was a time in the concert when she brought her little son on stage and he started dancing. And isn't it better to hear the story and tell people your own personal interaction with that concert than it is to just sort of send them a video? So that's one reason to do. And then the other reason that people often do it is they do it so that they can sort of show, look how cool my life is, right? That's the reason a lot of people want to film stuff. They want to show you how good their life is. But pictures lie. This is the funny bit. Pictures lie. I still remember being with a girlfriend on a trip, yelling at each other, having a horrible time, but at the end of the day, she asked me to pose for a happy selfie. And I'm like, what the hell? We're not getting along. And she's like, I don't want my friends to know we're getting on each other's nerves. So I was like, okay, I'll pose for that. But please get into this lingerie and just take a little like corner of the picture because I don't want my friends to know that we're not having sex, right? And so in the pictures, she was there smiling with me like, ah. And in the pictures, she was there like in lingerie getting ready for bed. We weren't having sex. We weren't having a good time. Pictures lie. I think I had a third thought about this. But I cannot find it. Oh, yes, the third one is people say the reason why they use it and they film it is because they want to remember the moment. They want to remember. And I'm like, you know what? That's what the cerebellum is for. You have part of your brain for memories. You don't need to film it. Remember. Excellent. That's your joke. I hope you enjoyed it. Let us go to at Wayne Romeri, who wanted a joke about Cadbury cream eggs. And I started thinking about how we associate Cadbury eggs and eggs generally with Easter. But Easter is a time when we commemorate the death of Jesus Christ and his resurrection. What do eggs have to do with it? He died, he was put in a tomb, and then he came out. It would be more valid to celebrate with eggs if he was killed, he was put in a tomb, and he just turned into an egg, and then he hatched himself after 3 days? No, it makes no sense. And I tried to think about, okay, what do Easter and eggs have in common, right? Well, I guess there were 12 disciples, and there are 12 eggs when you buy eggs. And also, think about it. One of the disciples, John, denied Jesus 3 times, right? That's the same as when you get one of these eggs. There's always one egg, which you try to crack it, you try to crack it, you try to crack it again. It denies you 3 times before it cracks. Boom! And then, also, you know how you have Judas betrayed Jesus, right? Well, there's always an egg which betrays you. That's the egg which, when you crack it, instead of cracking, it just crumbles in your hands, and your hands are all stuck with yolk. That's Judas. I see all the connections. It's all starting to make sense. Okay, let's keep going. By the way, somebody messaged me yesterday. I'm a little paranoid because in the middle it disconnected. Is everybody still here or am I talking to myself? Okay, let's keep going. Next, let us say at Mwebeza Norman. At Mwebeza Norman wanted a joke about Yoweri Museveni. Now, Yoweri Museveni is the president of Uganda. Now, he's been the president of Uganda for a very long time, since 1986, right? Since before a lot of you were born. And he just named himself like he's a president for life, right? And even when people decide to be president of life, I don't think people expect them to live that long, right? So he declared himself president for life, and he's a very, very controversial figure. He says all kinds of dramatic things, but also at the same time, I can't criticize him entirely, because while he has done some things which some people would criticize and say are despotic, on the other hand, he responded very well to the AIDS epidemic and brought the numbers down. And so he's like most people, he's got positive sides and dark sides. But in looking for comedy, I looked through all of the things which he said, and I found gold. Apparently, Yoweri Museveni, president of Uganda, is not a fan of oral sex. Yes, if there are any Ugandans in this video watching, do not go down on your girls, and men do not go down on your, and women do not do any sucky in Uganda. He wanted to ban oral sex, okay? And he said, I'm laughing even at, this is a direct quote from the president of a country, okay? He says, oral sex, you push your mouth there, you will come back with worms. With worms! What kind of women is Museveni sleeping with? If a woman has worms coming out of her private parts, the issue isn't don't go down on her. The issue is call a doctor. Call an exterminator. Spray doom down there. Don't just let the worms be there and have sex. If there are worms coming out there, you've got bigger problems than worrying about doing a correct 69. He also said the mouth is not for eating. No, sorry. He said the mouth is for eating, not for oral sex. Why can't it do both? Why do you assume, Museveni, that I'm doing both at the same time? Like I'm down there, lick, have a bite of a burger? No, you eat first, have a shower, brush your teeth, and then a few hours later, bam, oral sex. I hope you enjoyed your joke about Museveni. Boom. At C. Chaponda. So actually, this is actually a family member of mine wanted me to talk about video consultations, because this person, family member of mine, is a doctor. And she was talking about, this is totally true, that in the time of Corona, GPs, she's a general practitioner, are doing all of their consultations via video. So you go on Skype and you have your little consultation with your GP about stuff that's ailing you. And this is, of course, things other than Corona, because you still have loads of problems going on in your body. You still have aches and pains. And she said what's hilarious is she's noticed that people are now very hesitant when it's something private, something embarrassing. Because often people go to GPs and say, hey, I've got a wart on my penis, and they'll just whip it out and show the doctor, right? Or they'll be like, hey, look, I've got, my vagina, there's some kind of fungus on the side. Boom, here you go. And just show the doctor all these things. But people are extra hesitant when it's a video call, when they say, I'm having some itch and I've got a wart on my penis, and she's like, okay, show me. And they're like, no, I'll just describe it, because there's this extra level of fear when it's on video. I don't know if they think the NHS has got to be hacked the way that OnlyFans was hacked, and all around the world, their diseased genitals are going to go viral. Just show your doctor. No one wants to look at it. That's not what hackers are looking for. You're safe. And also, they need to see it if they're going to diagnose it. Excellent. I think that's the only gag I knew. Oh, no. The other thing is, this is a side thought which came into my mind as I was thinking about it, is because people are now relying so much on phones and things like videos, right? I've realized that now, if you are good at phone sex or something, that now makes you a bigger catch, right? Because a lot of people aren't meeting. So on Tinder, I need to tell people I'm creative. I am a writer, so I can create amazing fantasies on the phone. So me being at phone sex means that I am actually better to be with you right now than some guy with big muscles, because you can't touch those muscles, but you can listen to my sultry voice as I paint a picture for your mind. And if we're going to video chat, I have ordered a very expensive camera to stream this show. It's going to arrive in the next few days from Amazon. So then I can go on Tinder and say, I can do Skype with you in high definition. Worth consideration. Let's go on. The next suggestion is from @Julie Jeans. Oh no! People on Twitch at Kernville says your stream has a black screen. Can you go to YouTube? Open YouTube if you are in Twitch. Open in YouTube and put in Daliso Chaponda and you will find the stream. I don't know what's the problem with Twitch. I need to fix it somehow. I don't know how to fix Twitch. Sorry about that. Come to YouTube and watch the show. You're very welcome. Okay, let's move on. Frogspawn! Suggestion from Julie Jones, who can juggle fire. Now, actually, I'll admit, I'm a little ignorant. I didn't know what Frogspawn was. And Frogspawn is what people call frogs. The way that they procreate is the female lays loads of eggs, right? So they procreate outside of the body. They don't have sex, right? The female lays loads of eggs, right, in the water. The eggs are in the water, and then that's the frog spawn, and then the male frog shows up, like does his thing, right? And he fertilizes all of the eggs, and then out in the open, that's where the eggs become tadpoles and then become frogs, right? It's all done outside of the body. And Julie, I started thinking about it, and I got to tell you, I am so glad that humans evolved from primates and we do it physically, because I would hate it if we had evolved from amphibians and that was the way that we procreated. Instead of having sex in the morning, you know, your girlfriend would go to the corner of the flat, lay an egg, and go. And then when she's not in the house, you're going to go whack off on top of the egg. And then 9 months later, out pops a baby, and you didn't even get to have sex with your girlfriend. Thank gosh. I don't know if that's a joke necessarily, but it amuses me. Let us move on to the next one. @Kito Psychet. @Kito Psychet has asked for a joke about science. And I actually started thinking about when I was at school, right? I remember in science class, we had a teacher called Mr. Jayatissa. Now, anybody who's in this group on my Facebook who went to the same school as me, you might remember Mr. Jayatissa. And Mr. Jayatissa was Sri Lankan. He was a very brilliant physics teacher, but he had a very thick accent, like a very thick Sri Lankan accent. Like, you know, and you know, it's rather sad, but a lot of people make fun of the Indian accent, right? You know, if you've not grown up listening to it, it sounds odd. This is why, like, there was controversy about Apu, the accent. And I remember, I'll admit it, we were little kids. We used to make fun of him all the time. We used to do his accent. We used to be there. Like, he wouldn't say 9:15, he'd say 9:15. So we'd always say 9:15 is the time, quarter. We'd make so much fun of him. But then, I still remember to this day, when I was doing my O-level exam, that's like GCSEs, it's like an exam, and I was doing physics, which was the one which he taught. Then there was a question where I had to calculate pressure, and P, pressure, the equation, couldn't remember it. And the only reason I passed that physics exam is because in his thick Sri Lankan accent, he always used to say, H. Roji, and it's H, Ro, the Greek letter Rho, G. And because of his accent, which we made fun of so many times, it was stuck in my head, right? I would have forgotten any other accent telling me that equation. But because it was in his thick accent, somehow I remembered it, I did the equation, and I passed. So I guess the moral of the story is, you may make fun of people's accent, but sometimes that accent is a superpower, because I've forgotten all the stuff which all my other science teachers taught me, but I will never forget H. Roji. Excellent. Next one. Do we only have a few more? Let me look at the comments anymore. Anybody, any comments? Quite a lot from Facebook. I'm glad you're still here on Facebook. Thank you so much. Cheryl Stotlemere has asked me to keep the mic close to my mouth because you can't hear you. Then you can. Okay, excellent. I will do that. Also, I probably need to push up the levels. Let me push up the levels. Does that help? Okay, so on the microphone, I have pushed up all the levels. Does that help? Okay, excellent. Let us keep going. Any questions before I do the last few jokes? Your dad spent 72 hours at work waiting for Y2K at Kanjidza Earth Station. Wow, it's amazing. Excellent. Here we go. We now go to at Ratty Miller, who has said to me, why do I have blood in my piss? Now, first of all, I don't know if Ratty Miller meant to message a comedian, why do I have blood in my piss? Maybe this was one of those cases where he couldn't talk to his GP about it because his GP wanted to look at his penis. And he was like, I can't do that, so I'm just going to ask a comedian, right? Now, I've come up with a bunch of theories, right? Because look, I'm not going to leave you there pissing blood. So there are a number of ways you could have blood in your piss, right? The first one could be a disease. This is why you go to a doctor, check why you have blood in your piss, right? But it's not the only possible reason, right? Yes, it could be a sexually transmitted disease. Think, did you stick it in someone you probably shouldn't have? That's one possibility, right? But there are more. Now, corona, you may be very, very lonely. You may be very, very lonely. Yeah, maybe very lonely. Maybe you've been overwanking in your isolation, hence blood in your piss. I prescribe wank a little bit less at Ratty Miller. Okay, there are other possible. In fact, I saw the way you phrased it. Why have I got blood in my piss? Maybe it is a question. Are you asking me the question like a riddle? Maybe the answer is somebody kicked you in the balls, or maybe you killed someone. They're in your bathroom and you urinated on the blood. So that's why there's blood in your piss. Look, all I can say with certainty is don't worry, it's not coronavirus, because that is not one of the symptoms. Hello, Julie Jones. If you just joined the stream, I already did your joke. About Frogspawn. If you go back a few minutes, you will hear the Frogspawn joke. You're very welcome. Julie Jones. Okay, let us move on to the next one. At Shatkins044 has said, the Holocaust is pretty easy to make jokes. You just have to have the balls to do it. Now, I'll tell you the interesting thing is, a lot of people seem to think it is difficult to make jokes about horrific subjects. A few days ago, we had someone ask for cancer, saying, oh, if you're a good comedian, you'll be able to talk about cancer. Now I've got at Shatkins saying, make fun of the Holocaust. First thing I will tell you is, you are right. It is very easy. It is very easy to write jokes about anything. I've been doing around 20 jokes a day about random subjects. I think you should realize, for a comedian who's been a comedian as long as I have, which is like half my life, 20 years, you can make a joke up at anything, because jokes are just looking at ideas and words and creating surprises. And if I wanted to write a joke about the Holocaust, all I would do is get a bunch of words on one side of the page which have something to do with the Holocaust, like showers and trains and Nazis and jackboots. I'd put them on one side, and then I would look for double meanings like gas chamber, and then something about farts being a gas chamber, or something about showers and something about going to a wedding shower. And I'd put those together, create a surprising effect, and boom, it's a joke. But the question is not whether it's easy and whether I can do it because I've got balls. The actual question is, should I talk about this subject, right? Am I adding to the world by making a joke about this? Now, there are some comedians who perform for shock. You can do that. You can shock people. And it's actually easier to get a laugh by shocking people than it is by talking about something mundane, because the discomfort already puts us halfway to laughter. So I am not going to do this joke because I don't think I'm adding to the world by doing a joke about the Holocaust, which hurt a lot of people. It was a horrible time in history, but I'm not saying it can't be done gracefully if you've got something to say. My favorite movie is Life is Beautiful, which is a comedy set in a concentration camp. But that's not just a gratuitous shock gag. It's a gag. The gags there are making fun of the people who were Nazis. It's a beautiful movie. Watch it. If you want a joke about the Holocaust that isn't just a shock gag, but is a good gag. So, at Shatkins, I'm not doing a joke for you because I do not feel that it helps the world for me to do it. Other comedians may do it, others may do it well, but I'm not doing it! Okay, let's move on to the next one, which is at Rob King 2002 has asked for a joke about bondage, right? Bondage is a very sexual thing. It's, it's tying up your partner, whipping your partner, chaining your partner. Now, first thing I've got to say is, any of you who have tried bondage or know about bondage knows one of the things you use in bondage is a safe word, right? A safe word. So let's say you're going to whip each other or chain each other. You decide on a word, like maybe your safe word is avocado. And if the stuff that they're doing to you crosses the line from being painful and pleasurable to being painful and dangerous, you just say avocado, and they stop. And I think it's an amazing thing to have in sex where people have a word which can make people stop, right? Now, I actually think we need safe words just in relationships. Yeah, not when we're having sex, just in our relationships. Because if you actually think about it, there are a number of times in relationships where we get into very dangerous territory and you almost need a safe word to make them stop. Like, for example, in arguments. One of the horrible, tragic things about arguments is in arguments, people start getting more and more angry. They start yelling things at each other, and then they start saying horrible things which will forever shatter the relationship, forever hurt the person. Wouldn't it be great if in the middle of an argument, you're starting to say, you're just a bitch, you don't treat me well, oh, you're a bastard, huh? My life was better before you. Oh, I hate you. I wish I never met you. And then you know what? Your mother, your mother should have. And then right there, you could say, avocado, right? Just stop with the mother thing, okay? It's a very sensitive sore point for me. Avocado, I can't take it. I think we need safe words. Other places in relationships stop us from hurting each other in ways which are actually worse than a whip, okay? That's my suggestion. Excellent. That's one of my bondage jokes. The other one was, I'm glad I'm not into bondage. Like, it's interesting, you don't know what you're into, and then one day you just discover you're into something. There are things I didn't know which I'm into. There's no need to tell you, because this isn't OnlyFans. This isn't that kind of thing. I'm not going to tell you what I'm into, but you can find out you're into stuff which you didn't know you're into. And I'm so glad that I'm not into bondage because it requires equipment. I do not want to have a fetish that requires me to spend loads of money. The most I ever have to spend on is like get a, amateur nurse's uniform. Oh crap, I told you what I'm into. But that's what I'm saying, right? Isn't it great if your fetishes are cheap? People who are into bondage have to buy swings and chains and gags and stuff. It's very expensive. I'm a cheapskate in the bedroom. We're on the penultimate one, which is the second last one. And this is a request by at edballs001. And he has asked for a joke about Boris Johnson. Now, I'll tell you what an interesting thing about Boris Johnson. However you feel he's doing, I think it's very funny that Boris Johnson, for anyone watching who's not from the UK, he's the Prime Minister of the UK, right? And there are a number of groups who he has been very critical with and who he's been trying to do things to that now he has to praise all the time. Like, for example, every single one of his talks to the nation, he's sitting on a podium which says, protect the NHS, or thank you, NHS, right? The National Health Service. Now, before Corona, he was one of the people trying to defund the NHS, right? And now, every day, he has to go up and say, I was kind of wrong. They're kind of really important. Yeah, let's protect them. They're saving us. And then the other one is he wanted to cancel TV licenses and defund the BBC, the British Broadcasting Corporation, gets money from our taxes. And he was saying, we need to stop paying them that money. They need to earn the money for themselves. Now, first thing, it was a bad idea because any of you compare the BBC's broadcast about Corona to things like Fox News or CNN, things where it's a financial thing. And you will see they are much more sensationalist because they can't just give the news. They've also got to entertain. It's very important to have a news service which just gives the news and doesn't have an agenda. So similarly, he was trying to defund them, and now he has to go every day and give a broadcast on the BBC because he knows it goes into everybody's channels. And the amazing thing is, though, I've got to actually give it up to the BBC for being less petty than I was. Because if I worked for the BBC, right, and Boris Johnson, who had said the TV license money should stop going to us, is giving us our daily broadcast, I would have a bit of revenge. I would mess with him, right? I'd put on like a few sounds and reverberations when he's talking. One day he'll be talking, suddenly there's a beat behind him. Another day he'll be talking, I'll put on some filters. He sounds like a chipmunk. But no. They're professionals, and keep doing what you're doing, both the BBC and the NHS. Boom. Final joke. It's been a long one. Philip Scuba says, Daliso, you disappoint me. Boris has never tried to defund the NHS. They put, okay. Maybe I didn't do the research, but I definitely think that they wanted to stop TV licenses. So that was what I was speaking about, not defunding it. Okay? Here we go. Let us go to quarantines and side chicks. Somebody wanted me to talk about side chicks. So side chicks is another word for mistress. Okay? So I started thinking about this because I guess they were thinking about the fact that some people are in quarantine with their wife and they've got a mistress or a side chick, and how can they see the mistress or side chick? How can they communicate without getting caught? They must have to go to the bathroom, take their phone, send a little message or something like that. But I also started thinking about I don't want to get married. Right? I'm going to tell you, I'm not someone who wants to get married. But at the same time, right? I think it's because I'm just not like a one woman person. I'm not like a. But if it was a package deal, if I ever met someone, oh no, it froze. But I was on my last joke, so it's okay. Did it freeze for you too? Oh well, it was my last joke. It does not matter. Either way, maybe. Oh no, it stopped. Okay, here we go. This is where we shall go part ways. Phil Scuba, are you still there? Phil Scuba, we merely have a different opinion. This is not a political show. This is a comedy show. Often we disagree. You can watch comedy of someone you disagree with. That is life, okay? We don't all agree on everything. He was putting out a little political speech there. I think I may be frozen, so I will do the last joke as it's the last joke with the frozen screen, okay? So, final joke. Oh, actually, you know what I can do? I can bring the old school Daliso Chaponda. Hello! You can see old school Daliso Chaponda, okay? Before I start. So this is old school Daliso Chaponda. Here is how but now you can see my camera. So old school Daliso Chaponda is here for the final joke. I'm glad it only died on the very last joke. It probably just ran out of batteries because I was filming from a phone. So final joke in low definition is about side chicks. Oh, I think I finished it. I was just saying, if it was a package deal, if it was I could get a wife and a side chick as part of a deal, maybe I would reconsider my views about marriage. But anyway, other than that, it's been a great show. If you enjoyed the show, you want to support me, you can look up to that side of the screen and you'll see you can support me financially on PayPal or on Ko-fi, where you can pay £1 or £2 if you enjoyed the show, or you can be a patron on Patreon. You can support me in any of those three ways. But if you don't have money, still come watch the show every time. It's always going to be free. It's going to be every day at 9 p.m. GMT. And just tell a friend, right? Just tell a friend. I'm trying to grow the channel. It's very difficult because it takes me so long to write the show that I don't have time to necessarily, do publicity or submit it to reviewers or do all the things you would usually do if you're trying to build an audience. I'm relying on word of mouth. So if you enjoyed the show, please use your words of your mouth and be back tomorrow. Same time, same place, 9 p.m. GMT every day. CoronaCast comedy show. Stay safe. And if the end of the world doesn't happen, let's have a party. Good night. Thank you.